All right, welcome. Week 6, DraftKings lineups. Mully, congrats on first place in the division.
Thank you, thank you. So far, so good. Let's hope and keep the streak alive.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I feel bad for Andre Johnson just giving it up like that. He's had a couple of those this year, fumbling the
Yeah.
ball away. Anyway, all right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about last week. I threw out the notion that stacks may not be the way to go to win a tourney, and of course, first and second place in the Millionaire Maker were stacks. And I was thinking about it and wondering, trying to analyze what happened in the beginning of the year for the first 4 weeks where no one won with stacks in the tournaments that I was in. And here's the mistake I think I made. Last week, the salaries were super soft, and you were able to get away with some big stacks. You saw Manning, Demaryius Thomas, and Julius Thomas stacks, and then you could fill your lineup with other first-tier players. And most of the time, you don't see that. And so the mistake I made was making a broad general statement about fantasy, which is ridiculous because salaries change each week, and your lineups are based on salaries. So I'm not going to fall into that again. We do see the salaries come back to earth this week. It's going to be a lot harder to get all first-tier players. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. You're going to have to find some bargain players and free up salary cap to open up some room for your stars. Last week was a little strange, and I think DraftKings did it just to plump up their Millionaire Maker entry numbers. What do you think?
I do agree with that, and like you said, we obviously saw the Demaryius Thomas and Peyton Manning, pay off quite a bit. That was a big combination throughout the league. So, we're going to see a lot of that moving forward. I think a lot of people are still going to continue to use those, but the thing that you've got to keep in mind is just exactly what Sam said. It's all based on salary, so you want to find the best value, which is why we try and give you throughout the week value plays and guys who are maybe a little riskier but can save you some money because, in a week like this week where we look at quarterbacks, I feel like you almost have to take one of the most expensive quarterbacks or top-tier guys there this week based on the matchups and based on the way things will more than likely play out.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there are some value picks this week, and it is important. I was going to say something about that stacking, and I mean this week, if you want to go stacks, there are some opportunities. Okay, so you've got some really high over/under opportunities with Matt Ryan. I mean, it's going to be expensive to pair him with Julio Jones, but you've got options with Roddy White in one of the highest over/under games. You've got Jay Cutler on the other side, which is very doable with Jeffrey and/or Marshall or Bennett. And then you've got Eli Manning, which is a real steal up there against Philadelphia with a really high over-under and a litany of picks. So you have opportunities to do it again. Really just base it on salaries and week to week what's going on. So, all right, with that said, Jason, you want to go over your top lineups for DraftKings this week?
Yeah, now obviously this is, my best and most most educated guess at what's going to be my winning lineup, but here we go. Like I said, I think you got to go with one of the top tier guys. Now there is some value, just like Sam said, and it can be identified, and we've identified those guys for you. So make sure and check the other podcasts and the other articles out there. But I like Peyton Manning a lot against the Jets, and I just don't see him not putting up another big game this week. Running back, I'm going with Brandon Oliver. Now he got quite expensive based on his performance last week at $5,500. But he's basically the only guy there. You're still looking at Donald Brown out. You're looking at Ryan Matthews still out. So he's going to get the bulk of the workload, and it's just another favorable matchup against Oakland. So I like him as well. Matt Forte, we've discussed a couple of times, but I don't see him not going off. He's on the field all the time. He's really involved so heavily in both the passing game as well as the running game. And in a PPR league like we play, that's very, very important. Last week he was over 100 yards receiving alone. So I like him this week. I think that's going to be a big game, especially like you said, against Atlanta, high over/under. Odell Beckham Jr., that's one of those Giants receivers. I like him, and again, that's a little bit of a value play there. He's saving me some money so I can get a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. Now, there's that stack we're talking about, and again, you can find some ways to work those stacks, but you have to save yourself a little bit of money. But I like Emmanuel Sanders. He's highly, highly targeted. He hasn't found the end zone yet, but against this New York Jets secondary, I don't see any reason that he can't torch him this week. Mohamed Sanu makes my third wide receiver. This is based on the A.J. Green injury. With A.J. Green out or even limited, Sanu's going to get a lot of looks, and who knows, he could even throw for another touchdown this week. We never know what's going to happen with him out of the out of the backfield. So I like Sanu a lot this week at 5,300. He saves you a little bit of money, and he's not terribly expensive. Eric Ebron, we've talked about the Lions injuries before. Reggie Bush looks like he's not going to play. Calvin Johnson, it's just such a mess right there for some of the receiving options, and so I think that opens up some potential opportunity, and especially in the red zone, without the big Calvin Johnson running through the end zone, I think that opens up some opportunities for Ebron in the red zone. Bishop Sankey, he makes my flex spot. He's also saving me a lot of money, but the nice thing about Sankey is it looks like Green may not play, and even if Green does play, it looks like he's really going to be limited. So that's just a nice way to save some money, get a starting running back in your lineup, and against Jacksonville, I think he can really put up some good numbers. And then lastly, I've got the Lions defense. Now, that's one of the more expensive defenses, but defenses typically don't cost a lot of money, and I like the Lions a lot going up against the Vikings, against a rookie quarterback, and we all saw what happened last week with Ponder at the helm with the Vikings against the Packers. So you take one of the top-tier defenses and give them a matchup with a rookie quarterback, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I'll just speak through your lineup for a second if you could keep it there. So Peyton Manning, obviously big game last week. He's going up against the Jets with a terrible secondary. They're going to throw all over him again, and that's the thought. He is away. He is on an away game, so that does potentially factor into it a bit. But I think he's going to be a heavy play this week and pretty safe. Oliver, once again, he's probably going to be the biggest play of the week. I mean, 5,500 going against Oakland's terrible run defense. And Forte, it's tough after a game not to fade a guy like last week, but there's no way you can do it this week. I mean, Falcons are terrible against the run. They're a little bit better at home, but they're not going to be able to stop him. And like you said, PPR formats, it doesn't matter if it's a shootout, he can catch the ball as well. He's just really expensive. He's priced at his value, 8,800, so it's going to be tough to fit him in. Odell Beckham Jr., I really like this. I think I have him in my optimal lineup as well. If not, then I have a lot of coverage on him. Giants have come out. He looks dynamic, and I think he's going to eat into Ruben Randle. I mean, a lot of people are talking about Ruben Randle this week because of his targets, and he did get a lot of targets last week, but he's dropping balls. He doesn't look great. I think Beckham's faster, and I think Manning's going to create a rapport with Beckham. And I think he's gonna do a lot of things. He's gonna get more snaps this week. And they also talked about putting him in kickoff and punt returns.
Right.
So he could turn something out there. Sanders has just been a beast with targets. A big game every week. With the PPR format, he's just nice. And Sanu, I agree. And not only AJ Green, but Marvin Jones isn't coming back this week. They're going to be tough to find receiving options. Maybe Bernard gets some of those, but Sanu looks like a clear-cut number one in an offense that does air it out.
Well, and something you mentioned there, like you said, Bernard, that's a guy that kind of fits the Matt Forte bill a bit as well. He has a similar usage. Now, Jeremy Hill eats into his touches a bit more than what you may have, but another guy that could save you some money and fill that same void like we talked about.
Yeah, Bernard at home against Carolina is a big play. He's a bit expensive. I think he's 7,700, but he'll definitely have some coverage this week. Ebron, totally agree. I'm going with Golden Tate again. I know he had a big game, but a number one receiver on Detroit with Matthew Stafford throwing the ball, I think he's going to get his again. And Sankey, we've been waiting for him to break out. This could be the week. If Green doesn't play, I'm hoping this is the week they finally give him a chance because I think he's good and he can prove it, and especially against Jacksonville's terrible defense. And then the Lions, I also like them this week. I remembered what I was going to say about last week, okay? It was the first week that a wide receiver and a running back went over, I think it was 35 points, maybe even went over 40 points. And this DraftKings put this out. With Peyton Manning having a monster day, you were not going to win that tournament unless you had Peyton Manning, Forte, and Demaryius Thomas in your lineup. So it was just one of those weeks where you have to have those guys to win. All right, I'm going to share my lineup with you. And here it is, the $1 million winner. All right, can you see that? Or is it a bit small?
I'll zoom her in a little. There we go.
All right. So Matt Ryan's gonna have a lot of coverage this week. I'm going with him. Like I gotta stay true to my heart with at least a couple lineups. Matt Ryan at home is a different player. He kills it, and I think he's gonna kill it again. I mean, one of the highest over/unders. Julio Jones was limited in practice this week. I do have Ryan stacked with Roddy White in a few lineups because Roddy White also does play better at home. Jason, you spoke about that. I believe it was your value picks where Roddy White alternates, and this week he'll put up 70 yards and a touchdown. So and he's a really low cost. I think he's at 4,800, whereas Julio Jones is upwards of 8,400. So I do think Julio Jones is the man to own if you can work him in. So I paired him here. I had to give up some things in my other positions to do that, but I think I did all right. So Frank Gore, last 2 weeks, over 100 yards each game. Since Harbaugh has dedicated himself to the run again, said that publicly, Gore has put up those numbers. I expect it to continue against St. Louis. And you want a guy like Gore that gets a majority touches, gives you that chance at 100 yards and a touchdown. McCoy has just been killing me all year, and probably everyone else. He drops down a bit in salary. He's at $6,000, and he's still getting a ton of touches. You could see last week in that play where he fumbled, he's just trying to do too much. He wants to break open. He's probably feeling the pressure, and he wants to do something big. The Giants aren't that bad against the run. They're middle of the pack. With the Eagles at home, I really think this is his chance, and people are probably going to be fading McCoy a lot, and that's the perfect time to jump on him in a GPP. So I'm taking my chance with McCoy. And then Brandon Marshall, I also think he looks healthy. Supposedly all week has been playing well in practice. Trestman and Cutler have come out saying they want to get Marshall the ball, and even when he was hobbled, he put up a touchdown a game. So against the Falcons in the Dome, I see Marshall getting his again. And then Sanu, you spoke about him already. He's a clear number one if A.J. Green doesn't play, Marvin Jones. I had to clear some space, and Larry Donald fit the mold. I mean, $3,500 for a tight end that put up 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. He dropped dramatically from $6,000, and I just think he's a really good value play in another high over-under. And the Eagles are good at stopping the run. They're terrible at stopping the pass, and so I don't see why Donald couldn't get into the end zone. And then Joique Bell, this is contingent on Bush not playing. I don't think Bush is going to play. It doesn't look like he will. With a hamstring injury, it's still touch and go, but I do think that Bell hasn't been playing well. Maybe not a lot of exposure. The Minnesota Vikings aren't great against the run, and I think he can get his. And we already spoke about the Lions. So what do you think, Jason? Is that going to win me $1 million?
Well, maybe right behind mine, but right. It'll be up there.
All right, first and second, I'll take it. All right, guys, well, good luck this week. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was just going to reiterate your Joique Bell point, and again, just, check out some of the other podcasts we have out there, guys. We talk about a lot of these players, and we give you a lot of the strategy behind the picks. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just simply throwing darts at a dartboard, and just make sure and do your research and do your homework and get ready, and good luck for everything in Week 6. Yeah,
definitely. Check us out. We have YouTube videos coming out each week, 3 to 4 videos each week. We have articles explaining our logic, podcasts on the website. So fantasyfootballmoneyleague.com, @FFmoneyleague, and you can find Jason solely at @FantasyRambler. All right, good luck winning that $1 million. Take care, guys.
Good luck to you, Sam. Thanks.
All right.